Oh, hi there. I'd first heard of the story a few days ago, maybe even a week ago. The hockey guy only just recently made a video about it. It was yesterday, and it was about Dan Carcillo and his explaining of the hazing process that goes on in professional sports. Now, I'm of the opinion that it happens in every major sport. I mean, you take cricket for example, and there are riots and flash mobs and things like that that put any sort of similar activity that happens in the National Hockey League to the point where it's like it's not even a concern. They're that bad over there. But in saying that, hazing as a whole is mostly wrong. I'm not going to say it's completely wrong, but it depends on how far they go with it. Simple teasing or, light bullying, I suppose, depending on what it is, can be acceptable. Because the National Hockey League, as well as other sports, it's for tough guys. It's for guys that can handle situations, but that doesn't mean that they should be, bullied from day one and molded, their personalities molded into the character that the National Hockey League or whatever other sports organization wants them to be through manipulating them. And, when you're a young person, it's much easier to get manipulated by things that you don't like. And obviously some of the things Dan Carcillo described are things I would not go through myself. And the hockey guy, he was a bit critical of Dan Carcillo in his video, I noticed. He said he hated him as a hockey player and that he was a dirty player and this, that, and the other. And I'm sure there are many instances where he was. However, I do believe that to be considered is the environment, the hockey environment he grew up in. That plays an enormous effect on the psyche of hockey players. But then again, the hockey guy made a point that if he didn't like how he was being treated, then he probably still stood idly by as it happened to others. And that's where the hockey guy may have a point. Like the hockey guy, I'm also not going to talk about the specific details of what went on. I saw it on the news, I heard what was said, there's articles. This is an important part of the game that needs to be rethought. Because, there is a line, obviously, and it sounds like it was definitely crossed numerous times with Dan Carcillo, as well as many other hockey players. I mean, as I said, it's a tough man's sport, so you have to be able to handle being called names. You have to handle being in uncomfortable situations. You think wearing skates for as often as, or as long as they wear them is comfortable? It's not. You can't be a dainty little flower on the situation. And I mean, this is coming from a guy who for nearly 7 years has had a sore throat because of medical treatment. And I will be lucky if I even get an apology out of the people. And they were completely wrong for why they did it to me. And they deny that it ever even happened. And it's like, yeah, it's the Twilight Zone. That's all it is, man. Twilight Zone. But that's not exactly the same thing as being hazed. Although, from a certain people's point of view, I don't know, maybe it is the same thing. They're just too cowardly, gutless, and slimy to want to admit that to, especially me. However, they will one day. Anyway, getting back to Dan Carcillo, he's trying to right a wrong as far as I can see. And he remembers vividly, whomever his tormentors were. And, that's not to excuse his playing style, because I remember Dan Carcillo as being a very, very aggressive hockey player. When he got in fights, and he got in fights a lot, his punches, they look like they hurt a lot. And, you know, there would be times where he'll pick a fight with a guy. I seem to remember this guy on Washington, I forget who it was, didn't really want to fight him, and Carcillo just got him right on the cheek, and he was down. That I'm not in for. Like, on the ice, if two players want to have a jostle, that's different. But if one of them doesn't, then that's different. I mean, a while back I made a video commenting about Max Domi fighting, I forget that Florida Panthers guy's name. I think it was Matheson even. But anyway, he wasn't that interested in fighting, but the reasoning I was using, saying it was, you know, not a dirty play, was because you don't know what kind of talking they do behind the scenes. They trash talk each other, and, you know, sometimes unpleasant things are not broadcast on television or any other media network. And, you know, that is a possibility that Dan Carcillo, you know, picked fights with guys that weren't interested in the physical aspect of a fight, but were very much interested in having a different sort of fight with Dan Carcillo. And this is not me making up excuses for him. This is me saying that, like, look, man, there's usually more than one bad apple, if there's any bad apples in a situation. And, you know, you can't focus on one bad apple and ignore all the other ones, even if there's a lot of them. And there most certainly would be, because it's the culture of organized sport. There's a lot of money involved, and when there's a lot of money involved, it brings out the worst in people. And the worst kind of people are attracted to money, unfortunately. That's simply the way it is. So yes, I do feel bad for Dan Carcillo. I think as a young man, he was manipulated into being this person he may not have become. He's regretted playing hockey the way he did. You know, some people would say he did still have a successful hockey career. Not Hockey Hall of Fame type of guy, but, you know, he still had a successful career. And he's probably going to have to deal with concussion symptoms for the rest of his life. So those are, you know, some downsides, but unfortunately it's the price you pay. And, you know, the world is a rough place. It's very rough. And, you know, I would prefer things got sorted out, but, you know, with the corruption of money and how evil that can be, that might be a bit of a stretch to think that that's going to happen anytime soon. And I mean, one way of deflating that whole hazing business is to point out how homosexual it sounds. You know, like, some of the things I heard, I was like, I wouldn't want to participate in that, not for any reason, because that straight up sounds gay, very gay, and you know, that's not what I'm about. So you know, it is good that Dan Carcillo has spoken up and pointed out the wrongs in the NHL, and as the hockey guy had stated, Shannon, he said that if Dan Carcillo doesn't point it out, then somebody else may not do it, and if it's not done, then it, you know, the problem doesn't get resolved. So you can't take away someone's voice, even if they were the bad guy for a while or during their career, because, you know, to really understand certain things, you have to see it from all perspectives. And again, not to make excuses for someone who may not deserve them, but you know, I think of giving someone the benefit of the doubt in certain situations. So anyway, it was good talking to you people. It was nice making a hockey video again, and I will speak to you another time.